So, like I say, if you are a targeted individual, just write to me underneath this video and I'll get back to you. And you'll also find, like I say, if you type into the internet, transmitter chip, gang stalking, you'll find tens of thousands of people to talk to as well, who are all being targeted, and they are calling for the White House or whatever to raise awareness about it instead. You know, for it to become law that anyone who's stalking you, however they may be doing so, should be subject to a criminal punishment and imprisoned. So when you think about how weird it is, we're near a third world war because of how high a percentage of narcissists we've got in the gene pool, and how high a percentage of megalomaniacs who don't develop beyond 3 and who are attracted to children because they've not moved on since then. They don't move on from the moment they start making excuses for not experiencing remorse. That's the road to perdition. You have to experience remorse to bring to life sections of your brain without which you're not bloody human. You're a glorified animal that can talk, like a bird can talk, or a parrot, you know, or a parakeet, or a lyrebird. They can all make sounds and talk English, you know, understandably. And in Erol on Unitards, you can see how I go over that. I think it's Erol on Unitards. And so, basically, yeah, you're welcome. And it's, in a nutshell, pecking orders. That's the importance people put on that is proportionate to how evolved a human they are. Birds, as I've said, seek a pecking order. Monkeys seek a pecking order. And if you've no interest in pecking orders, it's because you're human. And that's what the problem is. They're anti-human. But if they keep on killing humans, or imprisoning humans, or as I've said, lead to them imprisoning themselves for 3 months, then there's nobody left to prey on. And it's quite ridiculous, a type of evil, to prey on those who you depend on and have depended on throughout history. However, those who chiselled away in vain, because no psychopath is going to learn, because they don't experience remorse. And something traumatic needs to happen for there to be at least a temporary experience of remorse. But it's just selfish, really. They're unhappy, they get caught out, they regret that. It's not really remorse. And so I've covered that, and hopefully you don't speak to the police first and you don't tell anybody, right? Just follow my advice, and whatever you do, don't commit suicide, right? Because things do get better and you'll be laughing soon. So I'll give you my example now. 6 years ago I was targeted by a mob, and I didn't know they were a mob. I just thought it was one person contacting me on the internet whom I'd met 5 years before that, 11 years ago. However, I'll call this person Eve. So Eve and her family took turns at targeting me on the internet, and it's called love bombing. So what they do is they send you loving messages throughout the course of each day and songs declaring love to you. Now, they take turns working the person. So Eve will take a break, and then some blob of crap or streak of piss will replace her, and they pretend to be her. So you're being exhausted, because it's exhausting spending all that time on the internet when the person could be on the phone or in your life in person. So you don't know that not only are they taking turns, some of them are homosexual and they fancy you. They would ideally like to reveal themselves and basically for you to become homosexual rather than heterosexual. So I didn't know that, I became bored with, well, not bored, but it was tedious every single day. No advancement on basically using the internet, no phone calls, no visits, and so I just called a halt to it. And no sooner had I called a halt to it was Eve on the phone, and then she showed up in person, and she peddled her pity play through all that time, her and the mob, and that's to make you give them money when they ask you for it. However, having met her 11 years ago, at that time 5 years ago, I'd basically formed a bond with her that I wanted to make good on. And so when she asked me for money for a cheap runabout car, I was gladly willing to offer her twice the money. However, she felt she'd successfully conned me out of 400 quid. You know, I thought you'd get a wee cheap runabout for 800 quid and then see how things went from strength to strength. And so, however, she admitted in person that everything she did was a deliberate choice and that she was a criminal who had been targeting me. And I didn't know about the rest of her family, but I had a bit of a clue, because obviously they do it as a collective. So she's not going to be anonymous to them. They're going to know exactly what she's doing, and they're going to be pitted against you. So basically what happens is, when she flees the scene of the crime, you'll find that then these gang stalkers will start showing up at your life, at your door, in your work, right next to you, and still peddling a sob story, and knowing that you'll probably link it to Eve, and then feel exhausted, emotional sorrow for her, so you'll let her go with the money. However, she's a dab hand at causing people post-traumatic stress disorder. So when she left, I thought, oops, I better contact the police first, and then try and get her to stop that way of life, to benefit the person she's targeting, as well as protect herself, because it's a dangerous profession to be in. And that began my attempt to morally reform her, which was 6 years ago. And it took me 6 years from remotely, from a safe distance, putting out videos to help her and to help people who've been preyed on by the likes of her. And to help one person I call Baton, who I believe I'm passing the baton on to them, to help them recover from clinical depression, because clinical depression, to overcome it, is just mind over matter, and it makes you feel low, makes you feel down. You may have visited a place called the Pit of Despair, and I've been there, and so I've got a novel about it on Amazon called Veracity versus Adversity, and it's an 8-parter, an octology, and it's a musical book that I call a MOOC, and it's to help people recover from depression. And Erol and PTSD was my final shot at helping Baton recover. However, there's this one last one to do, and that's me finito. So basically, I was led to believe that Eve had given up her evil ways, and that she had a focus now on her family, and she turned her back on crime. And when I stopped exposing her and her extended family, about 3 months later, they put the brake on targeting me. So May 2016 was the last time I experienced gang stalking, when I was out and about. And the gang stalking was just as I've described. People nodding at their basket, people nodding at things when you're walking down the street, people saying things about your Saint Aunt Maud, you know, your sainted aunt, and or about your missing dog, and you know, so on and so forth, constantly trying to push me, pull you technique to exhaust you. And then when you're least, you don't really know what's happening to you. The next thing, you've got post-traumatic stress disorder. So do your best to take yourself away from it all. Remember, these are playground bullies. and they've got one solitary brain cell between them. So that's why I recorded Erol on unitards. I say it again, you're welcome, you little bastard. And so, this video is as good as done, because I just want people to know there's a transmitter chip, that there's gang stalking associated with it, and it's culpable homicide. Yeah? Culpable homicide. Because they know damn well from the list of people who've committed suicide, they've gone on using the exact same copybook and knowing that this highly likely will lead to torture and suicide. And the person will be completely alone and they can go off the rails, hit the bottle, and so on and so forth. However, like I say, the people who do harass you are more pitied than to be scolded. However, hanging is too good for them. Yeah, our ancestors would take them down to the water's edge and drown the bastard. If they didn't drown, they would fucking burn them alive at the stake. That wasn't a mistake, right? They knew damn well what is in these evil creeps is they target other people to trigger a supply of dopamine from the white matter they use to compartmentalise people as well, because they lie pathologically to this one, which is different from the set of lies they told that one, different from the set of lies they told that one. So the white matter allows them to compartmentalise all these different narratives, and also doubles as a dopamine transmitter, and the ventral tegmental reward centre is the receiver, above which is the neocortex, and that's where you are, that's who you are, and you're in sole control of everything that goes on in your brain. And no matter how difficult it is, if it's good, just do it. If it's bad, just don't. Yeah. And so I have been imprisoned and sectioned, and because when there's a social experiment before me, I always choose the path of most resistance, because I learn by knowing something, and I can't know something until I've experienced it. So I can't know what I've not experienced yet. And so I didn't take the advice I'm giving you. And basically the reason being, I needed to see for myself, and it turns out the gang stalking me use the Freemasons as a network and the Satan worshippers as a network to then infiltrate wherever you are if you're surrounded by people. And you'll find that, as I've said, the sociopath work department are bribed to take that child from that vulnerable parent, a single mum. They'll come into her house and they'll say, oh, look at the crease on that little girl's skirt. And the next time they show up, they'll point again and say, oh, is she wearing the same dress as last time? But she isn't. And it's impossible not to crease your skirt, right? However, that's all the social work department need in order to take your kids off you. And if you Google that online, social worker took my children, or child, daughter, whatever, you'll find tens of thousands of people all complaining and screaming and crying and upset that their children were taken off them by a sociopath who gets a thrill from your torture. So it's good to see you again. It's been a long haul, and basically at the end of what I've just discussed, I tried to morally reform someone who tried to help me whilst carrying out crimes against me. Quite a juxtaposition. And I'm satisfied there's nothing else I need to do or need to know about the subject. Anything you would like to know, just leave a comment and I'll get back to you. Especially if it's on Zionist YouTube. Zionist YouTube, right?